Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome to the after party. That's right. Jeff Hartman here, editor of BehindTheSteelCurtain.com with Dave Schofield, Bryan Davis. If you're just joining us from the Steelers preview, welcome to the after party. If you have never listened to the after party before, it's where we'll talk about some Steelers stuff here, but we'll also get into some off-topic stuff. I'm sure Brian and Dave will break out in song at some point or another. Maybe it'll be an ode to Eddie Money. Maybe it'll be to... I don't know who Brian's. You sang Motley Crue during the preview, so it could be anyone.
Oh, I love me some Motley Crue.
Not my favorite '80s hair band.
I'm not going to see them in concert this year, but I love Motley Crue.
Would you consider Bon Jovi to be an '80s hair band? I really don't lump them into. I don't lump them into with Poison and Motley Crue though.
Oh, they were there.
They were hair.
They were.
Oh, they were my favorite. They were my favorite band growing up. So I
saw them in concert in '86. 85 actually.
I was too. I didn't see them then, but
I was going to say, Jeff, you weren't alive for the entire '80s, so you're.
That's true. That's true.
You only get like.
I will honestly say that I'm a '90s guy because when you were born in '83. I was 7 years old at the turn of the decade there. So I was born in the 90s.
No, I'm a 90s guy. I graduated college in 2000. So that meant I did both high school and college in the 90s.
2000.
Yes. You graduated what? You were college in 2000?
Yeah, I graduated college in 2000.
I graduated college in 2005.
So what I'm saying is I did my high school and college years were in the 90s.
Okay.
Well, I was born in 71. Yeah. So when
Brian's an 80s
when the 80s rolled around, I was just turning 8. So that's when I was figuring it out.
Those were what do they call that? Your formidable years.
Yeah, my wonder years.
What a great show.
There I was.
What a great show, by the way. Kevin Arnold.
Fantastic. Kevin Arnold and Winnie Cooper, sweet Winnie Cooper.
Yeah, she was a hottie back then. That was my password. K Arnold was my password for like AM Instant Messenger and stuff for years.
Funny. So what was his best friend's name?
That was
Arnold's best friend.
Arvid, right?
No. It was because he was rumored to be in Marilyn Manson's band. Did you hear that rumor, Brian? I'm sure.
I heard that at one point.
I heard the rumor that he was Marilyn Manson for a while, but
oh, really? Was it Paul? No.
Yeah.
Yes.
Paul Pfeiffer.
Paul Pfeiffer. There we go. Very good. So, all right. I have a question that's Steeler related to get us started.
Okay.
I want you all to think back. Divisional round of the playoffs is coming up. It's my favorite. It's my favorite weekend, and we talked about that on the standard as a standard. In your lifetime, what is your best memory of the divisional round that you can think of?
Oh, I could tell you.
Oh, that's easy. That's an easy question.
I mean, do you automatically go 05?
Nope.
Real?
See, Dave and I are on the same wavelength. I think you got to go to the. So, what do you go?
I mean, come on. They were supposed to get crushed in that game, and they just came out and just.
Oh, I know. And they were throwing the ball. They came out throwing it. That's when he hit Heath down the seam like twice, and I was like, "Holy cow! What team is this?" But Brian, I'm curious, which divisional round do you go to?
1984, December 30th.
I remember this game. I was 1, yeah.
At Denver.
I was 6.
At Denver. 13-3. They were no Denver Broncos went to the Pro Bowl that year, and they were 13-3. So they had T-shirts made up called Rodney's Rejects. This was Elway's second year. They were a very good team. Pittsburgh going to Denver with Mark Malone at quarterback, a combination of Walter Abercrombie and Frank Pollard. It was Louis Lips's first season. It was the reclamation of the great season of John Stallworth, who did not really play the year before. It was a fantastic game that they had no business winning, and they went in and won, and they went to the AFC Championship game against Dan Marino and Miami. I was 12 years old, and a lot of people talk about when you're 12, that's one of the best years of your life. That's when you're kind of figuring things out. I mean, like as a youngster, and we were just talking about the wonder years. He was 12. So, I mean, 12 is a very special year for a lot of people. especially boys, I think.
Well, what year was that for me? It was 1995, and that was a very special year for the Steelers.
Exactly. But that 84 season was just kind of magical for me. I loved it, and that's what cemented me as a diehard Steeler fan.
But gosh, that Colts game in 2005.
Oh, it was amazing. And I mean, because you've heard my story from that when I kicked a 75-year-old woman out of my apartment because she sat down as soon as Jerome fumbled. But it was very special.
My father almost ruined that for everyone. I mean, if they would have lost that game, I don't know if I could talk to my dad to this day. Thankfully, that didn't happen. He took his Steeler. He has a playoff terrible towel. It just says Steelers. It was like one of the very first ones that made it to like major print. It was probably from Value City or something. It doesn't even say Myron Cope's terrible towel or anything. And he only brings it out for the playoffs and he puts it under the TV and it stays there until, what do you always say, Brian? Until the clock strikes?
You don't celebrate until there's 3 zeros on the clock.
Exactly. And so when Joey Porter sacked Peyton Manning on 4th down, my dad stood up, and me and my brother and some fraternity brothers and my dad, we literally were tackling each other, jumping around this tiny little apartment in Shepherdstown, West Virginia. And that's a whole other story, how we got to that apartment and why we were there. My dad grabs his towel and he starts whipping my brother and myself with it. Yes, we won. Well, then Jerome bet his fumbles, and my brother and I was almost in tears. I'll admit it. I was in college. I was almost in tears. I don't know if I was going to throw up, physically going to vomit, or if I was just going to start bawling like a little baby. And my girlfriend, which is now my wife, was there, and I was like, I got to keep it together here. I haven't sealed the deal yet. And so it was a situation where I think everyone that was alive for that game, that was paying attention, has never experienced such highs and lows in matter of minutes.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I also knew that's where you were going. That game just I can remember exactly where I was sitting, watching the game with my dad, where we went after it, the exact episode of Punky Brewster that came on NBC after it. There was I just remember everything, and it just felt good. But I mean, I agree. I mean, most people were going to go 0-5 because they had no business. But if you knew anything about that 84 team, that 9-7 team had no business being there, and they had to come from behind, and they won that game in dramatic fashion. It was special.
Well, the Immaculate Reception was divisional round 2, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yep, yeah. It was.
The Steelers have some history there. Who did they beat in the divisional round in 08? Was that the Jets? No.
San Diego Chargers.
In 08?
Yep.
Really?
At home, Santonio Holmes had
the kick return.
There was snowing. He had the punt return.
Okay, so they played in the wild card that year, and that was the Jets game where the kicker missed 2.
No, that was a divisional game when the Jets kicker, that was 04.
I'm getting confused here.
So that was 04. Yeah, Doug Bryan missed 2 field goals, and they escaped. They looked really bad in that game, but that was the 15-1 season.
See, there's a lot of divisional games that are memorable for the wrong reasons too.
Well, yesterday. No, that was a wild card game. That was a wild card game.
Well, I think about the divisional game against 2017 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. You think about the Tennessee Titans with the what was it, Nedney? Wasn't that divisional round where he flopped?
Dwayne Washington. He would have won the Academy Award for flopping.
And he said it afterwards. He said, I should win an award for my acting job, and it made me want to kill. So yeah, just some.
That was a crazy game too. That was the Tommy Maddox here. It was a really crazy game.
It's so they have some divisional round history, and that 2017 season still irks me. Oh my gosh, that was awful. 13-3. You get the bye week,
and then John Oates ruined it for everybody. I know.
Yeah, I didn't say that, but you did.
I knew you were going to, so I beat you to it.
What was so bad about that game for me?
You were there.
Oh, not just being there, because I was also there for when my father and I went to 2 games together that year. No, he didn't sit with me during the playoff games. He actually got other tickets for my brother and his son Kyle, who has never been to a Steelers win. That was the first one that he.
We gotta get him to a win.
Yes,
poor kid.
No, you don't risk that. You don't risk that, Brian.
No, September. You take him in September.
Preseason. Gotta get him in the preseason. But he was at that game. But I was there with we all traveled together. I actually sat with my sister during that game, and it was. It just felt too much because the only other game my dad went to that year was the other Jacksonville game. He went to 2 games that year with us, and it was Jacksonville in the regular season and Jacksonville in the playoffs.
When Ben threw 5 picks.
Yeah,
Alvin Smith had 17 picks.
Yeah, and it just was ridiculous that it just started the way it did. You're like, here we go again. And I know a lot of people debated like the onside kick when they went with that. But that was before I was with Behind the Steel Curtain. I actually did a statistical breakdown of whether that was a good move at the time or not. And it was basically a 50-50 call because they hadn't stopped them on a single. They had not held them to a 3-and-out the whole game, especially with them running the ball. So that's why it was like, do you kick it deep and say you have to have the 3-and-out, or do you go for it to give yourself more of a chance knowing you can still hold them? And yeah, we all know how that. I'm trying to forget more of that game than what I remember.
Well, Tomlin has been, it's been well documented how he is I'm going to go by my gut as a coach. Think back to this season in week 5, overtime. What does he say? They win the toss. We're kicking off. And everyone's like, wait, what? You're going to kick the ball away to Baltimore in overtime at home at Heinz Field? And he said, look, I had no interest in Justin Tucker pinning us deep like he had done repeatedly
every kickoff
because our return team is awful. He trusted his gut. The defense bailed him out. Juju Smith-Schuster fumbles, and the rest is history. But in that circumstance, I understand your point, and that he probably looked at his defense and said, they're not going to get a 3-and-out, so let's go for it.
Yeah.
What was the worst divisional game you could ever remember?
I already said it. That Houston game really sticks out to me for some reason. I was really all in on that.
For Tennessee? Season. Are you talking Tennessee?
Yeah, I'm sorry. What did I say? Houston?
Yeah.
I meant Tennessee. That one really, really sticks out. And first, I don't know why. It was the way that they lost, and they shouldn't have lost that way. And I remember Cowher was pissed off at the NFL because they scheduled them, I think, on a Sunday in the wild card round, and that was when they beat. Correct me if I'm wrong, Brian. They beat the Browns.
Yeah, that was the Foo game.
That was the Fumatu Mafala draw. That was Kelly Holcomb throwing for over 400, I think. They won on a Sunday, and then they scheduled him on a Saturday, and they had to travel to Tennessee. He was really angry that they did that to him. They lost a whole day of prep. I was all in on that season. I loved that season. That was a fun
I love
season.
that season too.
But that's probably me. What about you guys? Dave, divisional loss that sticks out to you?
I mean, we already talked about it. I mean, because it was the only one I was there for was
2017.
Jags. That's going to be. It's just different when you were there. That's part of the reason why I feel so much for that one. But there's plenty of them.
I've got one that you guys might have forgotten about, but as soon as I say it, you're gonna be like, "Oh, 1996, the Fog, 28-3 at New England."
That was bad.
That was the 96 season, right?
96 season.
Yeah, because it was in 97. Because okay. Gotcha.
Was it in 97?
Because the 96 season, the playoffs are.
I think it was before New Year's Eve, but
was it in the divisional round?
No, it was maybe.
Yeah. It was right around there.
Guess,
so,
yeah. The thing I remember about that game, I was dating this girl at the time, and I took her home to Johnstown to meet my parents. And
is this Yeti?
No, this was not the Yeti. I never dated the Yeti. I never officially dated the Yeti. So my parents did not meet the Yeti.
The Yeti right here is the Yeti.
The Yeti. All drink water. The Yeti.
Sorry, I just totally got you.
I've got a bizarre life. Gosh, I can tell you stories that you haven't heard, but that's for another show. That's not for the faint of heart. So I was dating this girl at the time, and she claimed to have been a Cowboys fan, but when we went home to Johnstown, I took her to hang out with my parents, and we're watching this game, and it's in the fog, and I'm getting madder and madder because they're just playing crappy. You could hardly see the game, but the one thing you could see is like Curtis Martin go like 80 yards, and he breaks away in the fog, and he's running to pay dirt. And I look over at her, and she stands up and goes, "Woo, woo!" I decided that I was breaking up with her right then and there. I did not do it at that moment. I waited until a couple of weeks later, but that was the tipping point. She was dead to me.
So here's a game that no one has brought up. Shockingly, Mark does, and I'll put it up on the screen here. He says, "What about the Bengals divisional game in 2015? Wasn't that? Was that wild card? Okay, so that was wild card.
Oh, that was awesome.
But wasn't
that was a win?
I thought that was
no, wild card. That's a wild card game. Yes,
okay. Because
you want to hear some heartache? Join the show next week when we talk about AFC Championship game.
That's not an after party. That's the after wake.
You're right. It's not an after party. Although, unless we're just trying to drown our sorrows,
it's a wake.
I could just say 2004, and I immediately just start to get heartburn.
I was there. I was there in 01. Guys,
no? Let's save it for next week. Save it for next week.
Okay,
save it for next week. I don't think John Oates had anything to do with that one.
No, I love John Oates, man.
If
anybody wants to get bad a gift, Hershey, Pennsylvania, February 26th, Hall & Oates. I have to see them before they die or I die. And I'm not sure what's going to happen first.
It sucks that, we always tend to go back to music, but you get some of these artists that you're saying, like, I know that my wife and I were driving the other day, and we're big Parrot heads, big Buffett fans. And we said, we ought to see him one more time. Just because you don't know if A, he's going to continue to tour, and B, you don't know how long he's going to tour, And so we had a chance to go see Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. And this was probably about 2009, 2010 at Jiffy Lube, which was Nissan Pavilion at the time in Bristow, Virginia. And we passed up on it, and he never came back to the area. And then he passes away, and you're like, mother effer, we just missed it, So do it, Brian. Go to the concert.
Well, yeah.
Huey Lewis, you might never get to see him again.
Well, I've seen him 5 times, and he did hit on my wife, and that's a very true thing. Backstage, it was really awesome. In fact, I looked at her. I'm like, well, how? She's like, shut up. No, I mean, because I was like, because Huey had a role. He wasn't taking pictures, and this was Shippensburg University that was saying that he couldn't take pictures. So what they were going to do is they would take a picture and send it to you. So I have this really cool picture of me with Huey Lewis. So they came up and said, Huey has this role. If there's a woman, she has to be in the middle of the picture. And my wife looked at me and said, this is your idol. You go up separate and you get your picture with Huey. So I go up and I said, I didn't fawn all over him. I said, hi, I'm Brian. Fan since 1983. Thank you for all the entertainment. I was like, great. Nice to meet you. And we posted the picture. I'm gone. My wife comes up and he looks at it and goes, hi, I'm Huey. And I'm like, she knows what? She knows who you are. Why are we standing here to take a picture with a stranger? She knows who you are. And she's like, hi, I'm Jenny. He's like, how you doing? He didn't do the Joey. He didn't do the how you doing. He's like, how you doing? You having fun tonight? And she's like, yeah, I can't wait for the show. And I'm like, I think he's hitting on my wife. Does that count as hitting on my wife?
Sure, why not? Let me ask you another question now.
Okay, great. Like, screw you, Brian.
Yeah, whatever, Brian.
No, this is a serious question. I've often thought to myself, if I were able to meet one of my musical heroes, we'll put it that way, what would I say? Like, you got a chance to meet Huey Lewis, you would put him in that category, right? Of one of your musical heroes. And you told him, thanks for all the entertainment. Did you leave there thinking that was good enough? Like, that what I said was good enough?
Yeah. I don't want to do the Chris Farley. Hey, remember when that was cool.
That was awesome.
When you did that song from the movie that Alex P. Keaton tried to bang his mom.
No. I get it. But I mean, you know what I'm saying? You want to get your point across that what they've done has impacted your life. but you don't want to do it in a way like you just mentioned,
Yeah.
like Chris Farley. I just didn't know. I've always
Yeah.
wondered if I ever were able, and there's actually a chance because of my uncle, like if I ever got the chance to meet Jimmy Buffett or someone else that I view as one of my musical heroes, like, man, what would I say? Because they've meant so much to my life and I love music so much. Like it would be tough to put that into words without sounding like a complete buffoon.
You know what? I think if you say, hey, look, really, your music's had a great impact on me and you do it sincere and not cheesy, then I think they appreciate that. But you just don't want to be that guy that fawns over that they hear every single time. I was at a gentleman's club in 1998. Like, actually, this isn't really dirty. Gosh, I wish I was there the night before because my friends went the night before. This was in Hollywood. This was actually in Hollywood at a place called Crazy Girls. And the night before, the entire Brad Pitt and the entire cast of Friends were there. Well, David Schwimmer wasn't, but most of the cast of Friends were there at this club, gentleman's club, the night before, and it was a small place. So the next night was actually we were there. It was a Valentine's Day, and I was there. And who comes in by himself, wearing nothing but flannel? It's Judd Nelson from the Breakfast Club.
Wow.
And then my one buddy yells over to him, "Breakfast Club rules!" I'm like, "Don't do that! Don't do that!"
Did he respond?
He was like, "Hey guys, so you could not smoke in an establishment, so Judd and a well, let's just call it what it is, and a stripper went outside on the front, and then to smoke a cigarette. And me, who never smokes, I mean, like I was allergic to it as a kid. Here I am with my one buddy with a cigarette out there, and we're talking about the upcoming Major League Baseball season with Judd Nelson and a stripper." And that's it. That's the entire story. He goes there by himself. Who knows what happened afterwards? I mean, this was way before Me Too and all that stuff. But it was a really funny time. I was this guy just hanging out. And I remember before that happened, I was in the restroom and I'm standing next to Judd Nelson at washing my hands. And I'm in there and he looks at me and goes, "Hey man, this water is really hot, isn't it?" And I'm like, "Yes, Judd Nelson, it really is." I mean, I didn't call him Judd Nelson, but what do you say? I'm like, "Yeah, I burned my hand."
This is the show has to end now. I mean, how are we ever going to beat a story about Judd Nelson, cigarettes, a stripper, and talking about baseball? Like, how are we ever going to top that? And then also, you always find these ways of meeting these celebrities in bathrooms, like James Harrison when you're.
But it's PG. I kept it PG.
It is PG. It is PG. I do want to get to this real quick. Not to just push your story aside there, Brian, but Snowman put $5 in the tip jar and he said, "Well, who's your all-time favorite Steeler player?" Jack Lambert is his. I feel like we might have answered this before.
You know what? I said Mike Webster last week.
Hold on. Let's go back to your 12-year-old self. 12 years old. Who's your favorite Steeler at 12? Brian, I'm sure you know already.
Goodness.
Well, when I was 12 was that year we were just talking about. So I think it was at that point, I think it was John Stallworth.
Okay. Dave, when you were 12?
I'm trying to think of who was. I can't even think of who was on the team that year. That's my problem. That was 90.
Oh my gosh. I'm not a bathroom stalker. I was there first both times.
When I was 12, it was Rod Woodson.
Oh yeah.
Rod Woodson was the man. He was the flipping man, period. But before that, 94 would have been Barry Foster. But anyways.
You know a funny thing about Rod Woodson?
Does it have to do with the bathroom?
No. Okay. I've never been in the bathroom. I've met Rod Woodson, but
did you ever go to his bar and grill at Station
Square?
That was a great place. I love that place.
I actually did that during one of the AFC Championship games. So Tony Dungy was the defensive coordinator at the time. He went to Chuck Noll and said, "Look, we're picking at 10. Don't even bother scouting this guy. He's not going to be anywhere near us. So don't bother with Rod Woodson." He said, "He is that special of a player. We're not going to see this guy." And he drops. And I had a migraine that day. I was a junior in high school. No, a sophomore in high school. I had a migraine. I had to stay home. And the draft was on a Thursday morning. And I got to see them pick. I mean, very early in the morning, I got to see them pick Rod Woodson. And I was like, this is amazing, because everybody was talking about how great this guy was. And I didn't even comprehend at that time how great this guy was going to be.
How things have changed with the NFL draft. Now it's a
yeah
Thursday, Friday, Saturday primetime event on 3 different stations, telecast all over the place, behind the steel curtains doing their post-pick reaction shows.
Yeah. All 3 nights. Poor Dave's he's just underwhelmed over Deontay Johnson.
Well, that was when Dave started the Deontay Johnson hate club. He actually has on the dark web, there is a website called WeHateDeontayJohnson.com, and Dave actually founded that website.
But you know what? The day before, someone was this was a 4-pack of a show. Someone was completely unenthused with the Devin Bush pick and hated the pick.
Was it Sir Lancelot?
It was Sir Lancelot.
Well, he's a hater.
I don't know if he hated the pick, but he was very disappointed and underwhelmed. And we were like, what are you talking about?
Well, you know why? Because he had just done a show that week that said the Steelers shouldn't reach for either Devin.
That's right.
Devin White or Devin Bush. And it was like, oh, they're making me eat crow.
And remember I think it was Jeff and I that coined the phrase Stairway to Devin.
That's right. Stairway to Devin.
And then we saw other places pick it up, but we said it first.
That's right. Check the tape. Exactly. So, all right, guys, anything to add before we call it a show? I want to keep this show under 30 minutes, and we're at 26. So I figured if Brian has any other bathroom stories, we could get those out of the way.
You know what? I have a feeling that Dave has some wild stories that he's just not telling us.
The funny thing is, I feel the complete opposite.
There's a wild man.
There's a lot of wild stuff.
There's a wild man waiting to get out of Schofield right now.
Let's just say they would not. I am not as willing to share things as much as one Brian Anthony Davis. So
there's no filter on bad, especially in the after party.
If it's happened to him, it's fair game to be sharing that with anybody. So.
Oh my gosh, and the thing is, I'm starting to think that people are thinking I'm full of crap, but these stories are actually real. But somebody said the other day, it's like, the first time I met you, I thought you were pretty much full of it. I'm a big BSer. And then after I got to know you, I realized that all this stuff is true. I'm like, thank you. What do you mean my house still looks dirty? How's my house look dirty? Oh my gosh, my wife.
You all got seriously. People in the live chat and commenters on the YouTube, you've got to stop with Brian because you're keeping him up at night. He's probably dreaming about YouTube comments, and it's hurting his mental psyche and makeup. So he's become. If you notice, he's very quiet now. He doesn't want to get too riled up. He talks into his microphone like he's Sweaty Balls from Saturday Night Live.
You stole that. I'm the one who called that when I got the microphone. I'm the one who sent that to you and Lance.
Yeah, I guess that is me.
Yeah, it's
Alec Baldwin or Mr. Sweaty.
And what I'm known for most is my balls.
My sweaty balls.
Those are some delicious sweaty balls.
Oh.
In the meantime, maybe you should clean your house before the next show.
How's it dirty? Oh, my wife will be pissed.
Where's your office? That's what I want to know. You said you were going to have an office, and I was like, sweet. He's not going to have the curtain harassment or anything like that. And
it became Christmas Central. And it is not put back together yet. But what's happening is my son is moving into that room. And I am moving back into the office, which is going to have great lighting. And it already has a desk. And it's just, I'm hoping for next season. But since I spend all my time with you people on YouTube, I don't have time to go ahead and fix it and clean it.
Brian,
King Bay, you're killing me. You all capsed me. King Bay just all capsed me.
That happens.
Dude.
Oh,
Brian, gosh. I took grief for you still do for the college dorm bookcase and everything.
Oh yeah,
behind
yeah.
me.
Remember
so what do? I get great flags. I cover it all up. I have Steeler stuff in the background, and you know what's said about it? Nothing.
I think
nobody says a word.
I still think there's a dead hitchhiker that talked way too much behind that curtain.
I get all the time that I should turn my flag horizontal. I don't care enough to turn it. You should be happy it's on a gray wall behind me. All right, very good. Someone says,
and there went 30 minutes.
There you go, 30 minutes. That's it. All right, we got to call it a show. We've touched on everything from divisional victories to divisional round losses to Brian at a strip club with the Breakfast Club and talking about, I'm assuming, the Pittsburgh Pirates' upcoming season. That's the after party, folks. That's the after party. So, guys, thanks for your time. Those that are watching live on YouTube, God bless you for sticking around for this long. And so we'll see you next week for another Steelers preview, and we'll be talking about conference stuff and other crazy stuff and what it's like maybe when we were 13 instead of 12. 13, your first year as a teenager. That's a different story altogether, right? We'll see. We'll see you next week on another after party. Take it easy.